Hey guys, and welcome to a battle between myself and Dog Teasy as we take the forces of Wood Elves and Norscans respectively on Cliff of Beasts. And this is a pretty interesting matchup overall. I want to highlight a few key features, so we are going to pause the battle straight away as it does get underway very quickly. Now for my main force, you can see it's deployed relatively far back in my deployment zone, and we have the standard Eternal Guard in the front lines. These guys hold for a decent amount of time, even up against those pesky warriors of the Norscan forces who are notorious for cutting through chaff, but these guys hold for a decent amount of time. We also have some war dancers in the back lines to push forward and plug any gaps, countercharge the opponents. We do have a cheap and cheerful branch wraith down here on foot, coming in with only the two spells, Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma, to try and give us a bit of map control. It does slow down the enemy. We have Earthblood as well as Scroll of Shielding, and then we have the man, the myth, the legend, Big Papa Durfu, coming in pretty damn strong with Sword of Dave, which is going to help us clear out big old blocks of chaff, as well as Flock of Doom. We also have a transformation of Kadon for those pesky Manticore summons, always good in pretty much any matchup. Now, Durfu may seem like a bit of a strange pick here. Norscan's very good at taking down large threats, but up against the Wood Elves, they tend to want to go wide, lots of hounds to hunt down your archers and so forth. So Durfu is a really tricky customer, and if your opponent hasn't prepared for him, they can really struggle to bring him down. He can even go toe-to-toe with Wulfric on his top of his giant mammoth, especially with some of that Manticore support. Now, one of his main problems is going to be javelins, and very wisely my opponent has brought 2 units of those bad boys. So to counter that, we are going to be bringing Glade Riders with Hagbane tips, which are of course the poison variety. We have 3 of these guys in the front line. They are incredibly quick, coming in with 94 speed. The fact they give poison as well, they should be pretty much uncatchable. And their entire job today is to take out threats such as the Javelins, Marauder Hunters with thrown axes as well. And if I can defeat those threats, Durfu is pretty much going to be unstoppable. Now, protecting this fast range core, we do have double Wild Riders with shields as well, just to push in and assist, as well as Sisters of Thorn, who give fantastic map-wide control with the Curse of Anir, which is a nice slow and debuff, as well as Shield of Thorns to buff up my own troops. So what we're going to be trying to do is gain control of the map where possible, take out his fast moving units as well as these key units of javelins. Now for my opponent in the front line, looks like he has a double Norscan Warhound to try and chase down skirmishers, Marauders throughout the front line mixed in with triple Marauder champions. Quite an interesting pick. These guys will be able to beat all of the Wood Elf infantry in a one-on-one fight. However, they are a little bit expensive. Marauders and Marauder Spearmen into the sunset, guarding the back lines, as well as double Marauder Hunter Javelins, which we've already spoken about. He does have double Armoured Skin Wolves. Now, Armoured Skin Wolves are pretty damn good. Units I enjoy very much, both thematically, but also in battle. They do have regeneration, and that hefty 70 armor really helps him up against the Wood Elf skirmishers. For Leadership Core, he has brought a Shaman Sorcerer of Death, coming in with Fated Buna, Spirit Leech, and the Purple Sun, as well as Wolfric the Wanderer on his horse. Now, this is a lot of a less risky pick, as on top of his mammoth, he is a pretty easy target to snipe out with Wave Watchers and net play, which is so often seen. He's of course bringing Hunter Champions, Fight or Die, or CFAM. So let's get this battle underway and let's see if we can get that map control. So I'm going to push up instantly with our Glade Rise with Hagbane tips, recognising the threat of the Marauder Hunter Javelins and trying to focus them down as quick as possible. The Norscan Warhounds don't want to come close to us, as the Wild Riders will decimate them in seconds, and this is one of the advantage of going with a Cav Skirmish Core over the typical Way Watchers. Of course, do way more damage, and they can help bring down troops like Wulfric and so forth much easier than these guys, but that's why we have Durfu. Got some lovely cycle charging coming in the front lines with our Wild Riders, just hopping in and slamming these Marauders very quickly. Sisters of Thorn even getting involved as well. My opponent does counter with the Skin Wolves, but this is the gloriousness of the fast Wood Elf Cav. We're simply going to bound away on top of our mighty Reindeer, fall back and take very little casualties for the damage we have dealt. This early Spirit Leech is going down on the Glade Riders. He really wants to get rid of these guys quite quickly, recognising the threat. Although I think it would have been much better value popping that on some Wild Riders or the like. Skin Wolves trying to overchase a little bit, so we are going to launch some shots into them. We do have relatively decent AP for Missile Cav, or at least Missile Bowman Cav, so we are going to be forcing these guys back with a hail of arrows before once again retargeting into the Marauder Hunter Javelins. Now realistically, what I could be doing at this point is pulling back with my force and go right to the edge of the board, just to make sure the Norscans have to walk as far as possible, but I'm itching for a scrap, so we're actually going to stand true to where we are, just reposition slightly. Once again, Wild Rider's going to be hammering into some Marauder Champions this time, who'll be much better at taking the charge, but still, it's free value, and I'm all about it. So you can see my opponent is kind of trying to chase and push us off, but more one unit at a time rather than his whole force, which is a little bit of a mistake, as we are able to do cycle charging before peeling back as the skin wolves do approach and raining more and more fire down on top of the javelin. So we've basically taken no damage so far, and I should deal a decent amount back. But as the Wood Elves, you need to do this pretty much consistently, as the Wood Elves very, very glass cannon, and the more the game goes on, they get cut down size relatively quite quickly. So I'm going to be playing back our Glade Riders, and unfortunately for my opponent, his Norscan Warhound's actually trying to hunt these guys down, but because of the pathing, they're actually going to get caught up on Durfu here, and my opponent realises this very quickly, but just 1 or 2 slaps in, it's really going to decimate these poor Norscan Warhounds. You can see they're pulling away already. One unit is already terrified, taking an absolute beating as well. So we're going to fall back behind our main line with our Glade Riders. They can now work as standard archers, which is pretty damn good. Tunnel Guard as well, going to be used to try and force away some nasty skin wolves. Now in the back line here, we did pounce once again, so we've left 1 unit of Wild Riders behind the enemy line just to be a constant threat, and look how many units he is distracting. Wulfric, 2 units of Marauders as well as the Shaman Sorcerer are missing the entire start of the main engagement because they're hunting down 1 unit of Wild Riders and dropping a Fate of Buna, a very expensive spell, just on those guys. As we go back into the main battle, Durfu is basically going to be indestructible here without the help of Wulfric nearby. Skinwolves are a decent answer, but they are trying to focus down at my Glade Riders where possible. But they're going to get counter-charged by Wild Riders as well as some Eternal Guard, slam it into the back of them and some of these Marauder champions. A big old fat Shield of Thorns has gone down as well to help assist me in these big blob fights. And this is where it's going to get a little bit scary. Javelin Fire is back active, but it is thrown into Wild Riders instead of the mighty Durfu right now. He's going up against some champions, but a lovely Flock of Doom is really going to help him clear out this chap rather quickly. Already up to a mighty 9 kills there. Now the right hand flank is looking a bit sketchy, just 2 units of Eternal Guard holding back the enemy where possible. We are once again raining arrow fire down on Marauder Hunters. A nice Spirit Leech comes down on the Wild Riders as we do try to bomb rush into the back line. I saw the magic was placed on these guys and think they didn't have too long left in this world. We'll try and shut down the Hunters if possible and force them away. A nice play by my opponent, getting those Skin Wolves in and pinning away some of my Wild Riders. Backline is very healthy, and because there's a lack of hounds now for my opponent, he has 1 kind of darting around the middle. We are going to be able to take these Glade Riders and chase down these regenerating Skin Wolves, getting some fantastic value as the others just continue to shoot into the mix. Now, there's a really nice boat coming down, trying to clear through my War Dancers and Eternal Guard, doing some decent damage, but some friendly fire as well. The War Dancers are in there, saturated with the Eternal Guard, should do a decent job of clearing their way through these Marauder chaff. We do summon a Manticore as well, just to put a bit more pressure on my opponents. The battle's getting very sketchy as my front line is starting to buckle quite hard. In the back lines, we still have Wild Riders dancing around, distracting 2 units, and now we have a perfect opening into the back line. Glade Riders doing a decent job fending off both those Hunters, and Durfu stands incredibly strong at this point. Getting a little bit of assistance for some cycle charging Sisters of Thorn who are bouncing between combats. He's looking very healthy indeed, hunting these guys down where possible. Some Norscan Warhounds have rallied in the back lines, but in come the Wild Riders should be able to finish them off, and a fat Sword of Dave not only lowering the armor of all these guys, which allows us to focus fire with the Glade Riders, as well as allow these Eternal Guards to punch massively above their weight, it also does some decent damage overall. You can see Sister Thorn still bouncing between combats where possible, up to only 17 kills, but they've had some great plays all round. And in the back line, the Warhounds have been shut down by the Wild Riders, who can now use their extra ability to hunt down these Javelins, who will stand very little chance as these glorious cav come charging in, antlers down, funneling these guys and breaking both units incredibly quickly. And Wulfric did pop a hunch of champions down on Durfu, who simply waddles away for the most part, trying to get some assistance of the Eternal Guard, before deciding, you know what, Scroll of Shielding has been hot, giving him that damage distance. He's going to turn around and start slapping Wulfric the Wanderer, while summoning a Manticore buddy as well to help assist out in this duel. Now, Wulfric is, a decent duelist overall, but Papa Durfu, especially with Scroll of Shielding, is untouchable at the moment, forcing off Wulfric and terrifying him away. You can see most of the Norscan forces have started to break. We're desperately trying to chase units down with War Dancers as well as Glade Riders to force off these Skin Wolves and pesky Shaman Sorcerer of Death, who's done some really good damage and work all game. So it got a little bit wavy there in the kind of centre pocket of the game, but now with a fat Shield of Thorns going down, Durfu so healthy, we're looking in a dominant position. Once again, using Wild Riders to distract a couple of units, doing some nice cycle charging, up to 115 kills now is very impressive. Glade Riders can even be used as makeshift combat cav as well, not the worst stats, and a curse going down just to force off Wulfric with the help of the Manticore, and as he shatters the back of the Norscan army breaks in two. So that is going to be a Pyrrhic victory for us. Let's go to the end stats and do a tiny bit of analysis. So well played to Dog Teasy there. Fantastic name. And I actually quite like his build overall. The Marauder Champion certainly caught me off guard. I was expecting more hounds and the like. And I think he probably should have dropped one of these guys. Just for a couple more hounds. Maybe even the Ice Wolves as well. That they can slow the enemy once they can catch them. And even if you have to sacrifice them just to fend away the Glade Riders and the like. At least you're protecting your Hunter Javelins who can then pull apart Durfu. Because he was still 2/3 of his health at the end of the game. He could have soloed a lot of what was left on the field. But overall, pretty fun build. And relatively competitive. Certainly looks like he was thinking I was going to take some Waywatcher spam, which is very often in the Wood Elf matchup. Now, this is a Wood Elf army that I love an absolute ton. It does so much work. So, as I spoke about earlier, it's all about gaining that map control, trying to take away your opponent's speed, and then picking and choosing the engagements you want. So, Triple Glade Riders, you take out the Hunter Javelins. That is going to allow Durfu to dominate that frontline engagement. Your opponent is going to have to chuck everything at him if they want to bring him down. And that allows you to use your mobility of the Wild Riders. One of them up to 115 kills, the other one's been sacrificed a little bit by myself. But still, 115 kills, very impressive stuff overall. And Sisters of Thorn just work so well at slowing down the enemy, buffing up your own troops. They are a fantastic value for their cost. And Eternal Guard as well, simply there to hold the line while your cav wins the day. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please do consider giving the video a big old thumbs up and subscribing. And yeah, all that good stuff. Now, if you do want to see yourself featured on the channel, get involved in tournaments, King of the Hills, and all the like, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link just down below, as well as a Patreon account if you want to support in any other way. Anyway, guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.